Hello, guys. This is the host of Bucks of America podcast, Mr. Jeff Vance. So thank you again for tuning in, and it's been a real pleasure talking to you guys about the adventures that I go on and the guests that I bring on. But this podcast has also brought to you by several people that I really respect. And I got some big news for you. I applied for the Easy Cut Pro Staff, and I got it, which was fantastic. Now, I've been using Easy Cut now for a couple of years. I first came across this product in Warrens, Wisconsin. One of the salesmen were there, and he demonstrated for us, and it was my early Christmas present. I got the saw along with the sheath with it, and I tell you what, it makes 4 or 5 inch diameter logs very painless. I mean, it's work, of course, but it does play a value in the field, especially when you're cutting your shooting lanes, clearing up some brush. It's a very quick, accurate piece of equipment to have. And the way the blades are designed, it makes things very, very seamless. Check out their stuff on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all around. I recommend checking their stuff out. It's really good. I recommend the product. And my next one is I want to talk about is Veteran Innovative Products. Now, this is a veteran owned and operated company, all made and manufactured in America. They make the one pride and joy. It's the Veteran. It's a 100 grain broadhead, and it's designed for compound and crossbow use as well. And it's surgical steel. It's designed the blade. It's sharp as .035, so it's literally scalpel sharp. And the blades go from 1 1/4 inch up to 2.5 cutting width. And this is their claim to fame. It was the world's first never fail mechanical broadhead. Now, for me, I shot my buck with it. I've been using it for a couple years now, and it didn't fail on me. I have pictures to prove it too. Now, their newest product, the newest one they just released, is the Veteran. The newest one is a 175 grain Veteran, high quality steel, dang near indestructible, and it comes with practice points as well. And that's what I'm looking forward to, because FOC is a valuable aspect of it. A little bit more expensive, but the value of it goes a little bit longer. And they also manufacture the Adam broadhead, the Guillotine broadhead, which is great for turkey season right now. So please go to VeteranIP.com to pick it up. And if you're a hog hunter, they have something called the Hog Log. I recommend all their products. Check them all out. You'll really enjoy it. The next product company is MV Sports and Outdoor Hunting. Now, their brand is built on strength, perseverance, determination. Now, they offer a full line of apparel and accessories. They're committed to those never willing to accept defeat, which is most of us here. Now, check them out on Instagram and MV Outdoors. And they also gave us an exclusive code called Wise Guys for 10% off your entire order. So make sure you pick out some prime gear. It's turkey season now. Get after it, guys. You will not regret it. Now, another big shout out is Cajun Unicorn Designs. They help us with our soon-to-come-up koozies along with decals. So please let us know if you want any decals. They are available. And what they do is they add a southern taste to your design. And, of course, everything is all subject to approval by the purchaser. Now, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram, by the way, as well. Plus, on mine is on top of that. One of my favorite ones... One of my newest products I just picked up last year that I started using is Cook's Fatal Attraction. Now, they are a CWD certified deer herd that's free. It's like they have it certified, so that's no joke about that, especially on how CWD is vital to this what's going on in today's society here. And none of their scents are carried over from the previous year. They're all collected early fall and throughout the ruts to maintain that 100% purity. They don't use water. They don't use preservatives to it, but they collect during the time because it's the highest estrogens can be found into them. They also handball it and test the freshness to secure their quality assurance for the staff. They ship directly to you. That's what I like about it. They go right from the source to you. There's no shipping it to a dealer and going from there. And they also have Dominant Buck. That's another one I used this past season. They also have certified peak doe estrogen for it comes in a 4-ounce bottle. They also ship in the U.S. for free, which is pretty badass. Now, if you want a really good breakdown, it Eric from Where to Hunt podcast, episode 54. It's called Getting Inside the Buck's Head. Rich Cook sits on the podcast, talks about everything during and off season of the hunting season. Now, you can see all the results on Instagram, so that's what Rich prefers to use, and you can check them out at cooksdeerscent.com. So without further ado, here is Bucks of America podcast.
Thank you for tuning in. This is another podcast for Bucks of America. This is number 3. I'm bringing to you guys Zack and Jack from Axe Outdoors. And they're going to be discussing about their passions, about where they want to take their company, and see what will come of their hard labor. So I'm going to introduce Jack and Zack now.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Zack.
And we are
Axe Outdoors.
So you guys are really excited about the new passion project you guys decided with. You guys are both full of energy, and you want to know. We were actually kind of curious on who are the faces of Axe Outdoors.
I mean, we're just two dudes. We met in college. We started working at Gander Outdoors out of Onalaska Cross, but we just got to talking. We share a passion of hunting. Zack is in school to be a game warden. I'm in school to be a police officer in the criminal justice program. But we share a passion of hunting, especially bow hunting. Zack's just getting back into it. He's traveled all over the country for fishing, hunting. So we're just trying to see, I guess, what we can do this fall.
Yeah, and no, it's definitely kind of cool to be able to take something that you grow up your whole life doing, but you never really decide to turn it into a project until you know you're in the situation at the right time to do such. And right now, I feel like where we're at and our experiences that we've gained through my traveling and everything and hunting, and obviously both of us growing up hunting and fishing and just being outdoors, doing everything that we can to spend time out there. It really put us in the position to be in where we are today.
Wonderful. So my question for you guys is, we'll start with Zack on this question. What allowed you to come to this decision of jumping into a high energy task?
So yeah, I mean, pretty much I spent a lot of time growing up with my dad, who's an absolute outdoorsman. Everything he does, hunts, fishes, digs, gins, everything. It's kind of just gave me those experiences, and then playing college ball kind of gave me even more passion to, like, when I'm going to do something, I put 110% into it, and I know that, you know, this is obviously something that, like you said, takes high energy to do, and like I said, I just feel like we're both in a position to really allow this to take off.
So what about you, Jack? Tell me a little bit about can you give me a moment in time that solidified your passion for the outdoors?
So when I was in high school, me and a group of buddies, we figured we'd try to start maybe like a little hunting page, kind of what we're trying to do now, and it was just for fun, and it was based around duck hunting on the Mississippi River. I grew up from Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, and ever since then, like, I mean, my passion in the outdoors has been since I could remember. I mean, probably the past 15 years, I've done nothing but dedicated myself to hunting. I mean, high school, I didn't do a lot of sports. All I did was, I duck hunted most of my life, and then I found bow hunting as a great passion. And I just found myself that's what I would. If I had the choice, I could dedicate my life to it. I would. I mean, obviously, as a line of work, I mean, it's definitely a hard passion to create in the line of work, but you put the effort in, man.
Interesting, very interesting. See, I'm a little envious of you, Jack, because I played football in high school, and looking back, I wasn't very good. And if I was able to have the direction you got to focus on the outdoors, I'd actually be in a little bit different position where I am right now. So, who kind of focused your attention towards the outdoors? You mentioned your father, but did you have any other inspirations, and do you have a story behind it?
I mean, my dad, he grew up in a city, and so my dad and my parents, they weren't big outdoorsmen, but it was my uncles, and my grandpa. They introduced me to gun deer season. So, I mean, that's where I kind of caught my interest, and then once I got introduced to duck hunting by my uncle, I mean, I fell in love with it. Obviously, as I grew older, and I had to start paying the expenses myself. I mean, bow season took hold. I invested in my equipment that I have, and that's my true passion, and I'll live it until I get buried 6 feet under, man.
That's amazing. That you had to admire finding a passion so young, because we in life, we have so many options that we can choose from. We can go to continue on going to school, vocational school, whatever option you have to offer. But finding a passion is what really makes us happy in life, because it's like you find what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, from what they say. But what about you, Zach? It's like we got a really good detail of what Jack's like. Now, explain to us, like, what was some of your influences growing up?
Well, just kind of growing up on a more so a ranch, not so a farm. Kind of was nice because I got the advantage that a lot of other people don't, and that is growing up out there. Growing up in the woods. I mean, where our ranch is, you could walk 100 yards behind my house, and there's deer always out there. I mean, we got our land right behind there. It's been amazing to be able to have that as a building block, but also having my dad, who has been a huge mentor to me, and then also the friend group. That was kind of another big factor, was having these friends that have that passion with me. So, like, you can, if you're involved in the wrong crowd or a different kind of crowd, that'll kind of shape what you do and what your interests are. It's all about who you surround yourself with. Mm-hmm. And so surrounding myself with the people who were outdoorsmen, who always like to spend their time there instead of in front of the TV playing Fortnite like a lot of kids do now. It was awesome to be able to do that, and all that made a big impact in my decision to really put my foot in the door in this industry, and hopefully it all takes off.
That's a good point, because when we're younger, we're still developing. Our minds are still exploring different options, figuring out where we fit in society. High school can be brutal for some, and it can be prosperous for others. What I like about being at a younger age, when you're discussing these topics, you really didn't have it, because when I was growing up, it was very 9 to 5, very work oriented. Yeah, the whole social media was still possible. It was still growing. The internet was just created at a young age for myself, and it provides a stepping stone for where I'm at, where you guys are at. So it's nice to come from a different perspective. Now, with social media being part of both of your lives, how do you think it's going to impact you?
Well, I mean, like, social media, I mean, that's the biggest, I guess, thing in our generation right now, for sure. I mean, that's what takes hold of society, for sure, these days. And I mean, not society, well, society for sure, but our generation. And I think what separates, I guess, me and Zack, I mean, Axe Outdoors, like, social media is what's going to help you grow, but I mean, going through high school, we weren't your typical, high school students that all we cared about was, how many friends we got on Facebook or how many followers we got on Instagram and Twitter, man. Like, we grew up in the outdoors, man. I mean, like, I get it, I mean, it's a passion, I mean, instead of pursuing sports and going for other things, you know, that are pretty typical for our age group, we decided that, I mean, me personally, I guess I'm speaking more so for myself, I chase the outdoors, you know, on waterfowl hunting, living on the river my whole life, man. I grew up right on the Mississippi. I never really cared too much for Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you know.
I gotcha. See, what I've learned over these very accelerated years, because social media took off with MySpace and Hot or Not and
yeah,
Facebook.
MySpace, man, that's
it's unique in how
yeah,
it does play a role in our things. Like I've seen with the social media, it can be a good thing and a bad thing, because as a promoter myself and like really passionate about the conservation aspect of the whole outdoors, is that with social media, it's divided. You have your group of people that just love the outdoors, and you have ones that I wouldn't say uneducated, but haven't had that experience because
a lot of times they didn't grow up in the situations that we have been able to.
I gotcha.
You know? And that's the big cities and everything. I mean, the kids there, a lot of times they've never been to any sort of public lands.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's, you know, like what you were talking about, conservation, especially of public lands, is a big topic that's kind of going around. I completely get where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. So, what I've learned thus far, because like I'm still new to the whole aspect of everything. See, when it comes down to social media, it's a very dicey situation. Mm-hmm. So, from what I've seen, as a negative impact, is that it's missing that experience. So, what do you think it could be a solution to adding this experience to their lifestyle?
So, you're asking what would help?
Yeah, what would help create change the view of hunters and fishermen
through social media?
Yeah, through social media. Yeah,
I think that, you know, obviously where we are, like you were talking about, there's a lot of division between people, just in general, but also especially when it comes down to the outdoors and hunting, fishing, etc. And a lot of people now aren't too fond of the idea of things like that. So I guess I don't know what would help with that is really being able to put this idea out there and have it relate to a lot of people in a different way. Because before, from like I know what I saw when I was younger, especially when social media had just kind of been up and coming, was you saw these almost, it seemed to me like staged kind of things. Like it was too perfect. You know, everything, like especially with hunting, fishing, the shows and the social media. So it's kind of, I think we need to relate it to a large group of people in a way that everyone can kind of understand it, can appreciate it, especially because, I mean, a lot of people still eat meat, and, you know, a lot of people that eat meat aren't fond of hunting, and the big thing about that is I know where my food comes from, and
there's a giant stereotype, I mean, behind, you know, professional groups, hunting groups, such as, you know, I mean, like, you've got your Jury Outdoors or the Crush TV or Bow Hunter Die, you know, I mean, stuff like that. And like, I mean, those guys, they've been doing it for a while and it's staged enough. Like, I mean, what our idea is, especially with the Axe Outdoors, is we're just trying to get behind a real perspective where it's just a couple of dudes and we're just a couple of buddies, and you know, I mean, we're all about having fun, living life, and then, but you know, I mean, showing that the outdoors, hunting and fishing, like it's still it's a fun thing to do, and it's, you know, I mean, it's cool. Like it's a good thing to really be a part of. It's a good thing to have in your life. You know, I mean, it's not stereotypical where you necessarily just that's you know, you just have to be this staged, you know, whatever the stereotype in the professional world may be, like a lot of other people are. We're just trying to keep it real, but yet show that it's fun and that it's something that everybody should, you know, I mean, like, just try it once, man. You
get
know?
involved with it.
Get involved. It's not a bad thing. It's cool. It can be really fun.
Now, with high school in your rearview mirror, how was your high school treated? Like, what was their approach to the outdoors? Like in science class or history, how did anybody really expose you in school?
Well, I guess speaking for myself here, My high school was super an outdoors type school. I grew up around hunter and fishermen and outdoorsmen my entire life, and that went to their kids, who I went to school with. So it was kind of cool in that aspect, and also our teachers. I mean, we had a lot of people that were involved with, the Department of Natural Resources, stuff like that ended up being teachers at my high school. So I keep saying, I mean, I grew up being able to be exposed to this stuff, and I was a lot more blessed than what a lot of people who are just getting into this field here were. You know?
Yeah. I mean, for example, like my high school shop teacher, man, like during the week of gun deer season in Wisconsin, dude, we had a big buck contest, dude. Like, in that whole week, it was like Christmas, dude. Like, we didn't do any schoolwork, man. We sat and we watched Midwest Whitetail, and then we had school off for the whole week. You know, we call in the school or whatever, or they call it off. Like, it's just in a small town, especially small towns in Wisconsin. You know, gun deer season comes around. That's what it is, man. You know,
yeah, it's a holiday.
Bow hunting might not be as prominent, but you know, gun deer season in Wisconsin. Anybody can vouch it's from Wisconsin. They know, man. That's bigger than Christmas around here, dude.
Mm-hmm. Very well put. Now, with your Axe Outdoors, what spawned this creation?
Well, I guess just kind of, we keep talking about, we grew up in it and everything, but especially as of late, what's made us want to create this was we work at an outdoors store, and
we sell guns, we sell bows, we run into people all the time,
yeah.
Man, and it's something that we just see, like, what if we created something where, like, just our passion was simply, we create a thing where our job, maybe in the future, it's a dream right now, where, like, that's our job. We just hunt, man.
So what are you guys going to do to make yourself different from everybody else? Because there's a lot of competition out there. Because you're competing with Jim Shockey,
mm-hmm.
Steve Ranella, Randy Newberg, Solo Hunter with Tim Barnett and Remy Warren. You guys, there's a lot of approaches to the whole thing. Each one shows their true value. Everything. Solo Hunter's pretty self-explanatory. Randy Newberg provides us an education about history and also about sciences and what's going on in the future and what to expect. So with these high expectation, what's going to make you different? What's going to make me want to tune into your show every week on YouTube?
Well, I think kind of the big thing with that is, I know what we kept talking about is that, and we mentioned it just a few minutes ago, was kind of, it seemed like everything's too perfect. And that's, every hunter knows. It's not how things are. Everything doesn't just go... I mean, every once in a while, yeah, I'm sure something is perfectly set out. You go out there and you run into your buck that you've been researching all year and everything, trying to get down when he's crossing paths with where you're going to be, everything, right? So I guess kind of the big thing with that is we had a vision of making sure that everyone knows that hunting, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of preparation, and we want to show the realness behind it, because when you get to a lot of those bigger shows, you don't get to see a lot of the mishaps and the true stories of really what goes on. So
it cuts straight to the hunt, man. Like, I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see the anticipation and the adrenaline rush right before, it comes down to that bone shaking second right before you stick a deer or you're pulling up and your dog, I mean, he comes up on a grouse or a pheasant, and it's like that adrenaline moment where you got to make that right shot. We want to keep it real, where it's like we show like the night before what we're doing, like show how it is, just a couple buddies hanging out, and the next morning, we don't know what's going to happen, man. I mean, like, we can't predict that, because it's
I get it.
Nature. I mean, you never know what to expect.
Amen to that, because we all have had those mornings where it's like, I don't want to get out of bed. It's too cold. I don't want to move. Yeah. Please, let me go back to sleep.
Early.
Mm-hmm. So now, as you guys are, since you beginning the whole process, like, what are you looking at like, do you have any, what do you use for equipment? What are you guys thinking about equipment? Because this would be great for some of the younger audience that are in their like 11, 12-year-old age range, that they may like think of this as a viable opportunity in the future.
I mean, like as early as like I started out, I mean, your parents are obviously, you got to pray on your parents, man, when you're that old. I mean,
Well, what kind of technology is what I'm looking at? What are you guys looking at? Have you guys started doing your research on what equipment you want to use? Are you guys going refurbished? Let's go into a little bit of that, because that's exciting me, is because when I got into podcasting, when I first got into hunting, like actually taking it to the next level, they're looking at technology like trail cams, cellular plans, what providers do what coverage does what. And on top of that, the technology is always growing, so like which one is actually going to provide a consistent product, even though once you buy it.
I mean, of course, like, affordability is definitely a big thing. Not everybody has the money to purchase, the most expensive trail cams or the most expensive bows.
The vast
on the
majority doesn't have the ability to really be spending thousands upon thousands of dollars for each hunting season.
Yeah.
So, what would you guys recommend then for aspiring entrepreneur?
I mean, are you talking like brands or
talking about what avenues have you looked at to purchase this stuff?
I mean, like the avenues that you should look at are, it's something that's going to be effective, but it's also cost effective too.
Yeah.
I mean, look for that mid to low range. I mean, it's still going to be quality, but you can afford it, because no matter what, man, like it's all about repetition, putting the time and effort in. I mean, like as you get your equipment and you make a little investment. You don't have to go out and buy the $2,000 bow.
What I'm getting at is like what I'm getting at is that when I first got into hunting, because as we both well know, trail cams can be expensive. Yeah. And there's different brands out there. Now the nice thing is about social media, you can find any brand out there and you can just research it. Yeah. Now, avenues I use to get trail cams was I went to pawn shops. It's amazing.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
What you can purchase. And the nice thing is when you go to a pawn shop, depending on the shop you have in the town, they'll always make sure the product's not stolen.
Yeah,
right.
Because for us that like to hunt public lands, it can be expensive having your cameras come up missing.
Yeah,
which is all too common. But no, I definitely, I guess going off kind of where what you were asking is, me growing up, my dad has always been super tight on money, and we never ever even to this day had the nicest hunting equipment. Even guns, hunting clothes, everything was years upon years, hand-me-downs, that kind of stuff that we ended up hunting with. And so I guess it was kind of nice when I got my own job and everything to afford these kind of things. But until then, make do with what you got. Really, you can go to Walmart. You can go to a big box store and get your hunting equipment there. And as long as you are prepared and you are a straight shooter, that hunting equipment kind of comes second. But I know, obviously it'd be a dream to be able to wear all First Light hunting clothes and that kind of stuff. But for now, it's just make do with what you got. And like I said, you go to big box stores and get the right equipment, and you'll still be out in the woods and you'll be camouflaged up and you can, as long as I said, just shoot straight. That's the big thing.
Yeah, for sure. Or even ask your buddies. Or relatives or whatever, and ask and see if they got old stuff they don't want, that's how I grew up. When I grew up, I didn't have hunting clothes right away out the bat. You don't just, most of the time you just can't go out and just drop, a couple $100 on some cool new gear. You get what you can get and make it work, and it will work. As long as, you do a little research and you figure out a system works for you, and you're gonna have your ups and downs, you're gonna have your hardships, no matter what. You just
that's what hunting is.
That's what hunting is.
I got you.
That's outdoors.
So
is, man.
What I've seen, what I've done is my approach of hunting. Because I did the exact same approach. I went to garage sales.
Yeah.
I went to Goodwills, because you can find some good stuff. Don't forget TJ Maxx guys out there. Yeah. You may feel that's geared towards the feminine products, but boy, you can find some steals there. I found some Under Armour stuff for dirt cheap. It's like I am not paying full price.
Well, get a job somewhere where you can get the discount.
There you go. There you have it, boys.
Because I worked at. Am I allowed to say? I worked at a big box outdoors company throughout high school, and the discount was very, very nice. Started making my own money, was able to purchase those nice things that my dad and I were never able to have. I bought him some stuff, obviously bought myself a lot of stuff, probably too much. It gets dangerous working there. They pay you to play with these awesome products all day, and then you come back and put the money in their pocket. But
I could see the exact same temptation. When you don't have as many responsibilities as others, you can afford those things. And what I recommend for anybody that's strategizing as a younger hunter is to figure out a way to maximize your potential. Because if you're not going to college, go ahead and look at something that drives you passionate. You could be a professional fisherman, guidesman. You could look at working at big box stores like Gander Outdoors, Dick's, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah.
And so I shouldn't have said Dick's because they're going. By the time some of you kids listen to this, it'll be out of business because their policies are not making the wrong moves. That's a good way to put it. So what I've learned, what these guys explained is that look at your cheapest possibilities, but also now what they mean by research is if you're going to be hunting an area, pay attention throughout the times of the season. So if you're hunting in the early fall, look at the leaves, look at the colors, and find what matches like whites, browns, blacks. It's a very distinct possibility that you have to really figure out what needs to go. And it's like pay attention to your surroundings. Then when the winter season comes up, the nice thing is there are so many places to get snow camo. Just look around and just pay attention to what it looks like, especially where you have your tree stand set up. And almost like pay attention to have somebody take a picture of it while you're up there. Does it blend in? Because camouflage is a very big win. Now, nothing plays against them playing the wind, because the wind is key, is essential, because that can make or break your hunt, especially if you're hunting on the ground. Because if you have somebody coming behind you and you don't want to pay the money for a ground blind, it's like you're going to have to figure out some way to make sure you can hear and see everything around you.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's and like the other thing too is wait till obviously you want to get this stuff right before hunting season, but a lot of times where you see the biggest sales go on are when it's out of season. Look at the out of season sales that they have going on, or the ones
knowledge being dropped right there, guys. That's knowledge.
It's you'll see deer season and especially the fall kind of gets over with, and you'll end up seeing, oh well, we're having this closing sale that you'll find deals that are 30%, 40%, even 50% off at these big box stores.
Oh,
that's the time to go in and get your stuff, because now, I mean, obviously there's going to be it's almost an investment because you've got some time to wait till you can use it, but you're going to get the best deal possible at those times.
So with the future of Axe Outdoors, now, which season are you guys going to go after first? Because bow season is very long. Gun season is very short. But what is going to be the first thing you're going to go after? Because for me, when deer season hits, when it opens up, that until the day it ends. Because I really don't have the exact same experience as you guys do with hunting ducks and goose. Now, doesn't mean I don't want to get into it. I think it'd be a lot of fun because I have a beautiful 1100 Remington, and anybody that knows that make and model is just a solid platform for bird hunting.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, like, I grew up on the Mississippi.
We both,
we both grew up on the Mississippi. I grew up duck hunting originally. I didn't get into bow hunting until I was probably 15, and I mean, like I fell in love with it. But duck hunting, goose hunting, it's a ton of fun, and I mean, if you can find yourself to like it, I mean, try it once, man, and like you get hooked. I mean, it's a rich man sport, man, but
you can find ways to make it work.
You can find ways to make it work, for sure. I mean, I've found little points where I broke as hell, man, but I mean, you can still go out and get after it, you know. You get yourself a nice little cheap shotgun, whatever. I mean, I think I got an H&K shotgun, like a $300 shotgun, but it still kills ducks, man. I got hand-me-down decoys. I got old waders I still use. I've had for years and years. I mean, but you know, as long as you do a little research, you practice, and on your calling, whatever, get a group of buddies, you go out there. You have
That's a good point. So why don't you elaborate on the calling? Where did you learn how to call?
So I learned calling ducks and geese from my uncle. I mean, a lot of small little locally owned call shops, whatever, around the country, around the Midwest. More so down south. Down south, I mean, duck hunting, waterfowl hunting in general is more prominent. Louisiana, Alabama, Arkansas, Kansas. Super big. I mean,
why is that? Why is it so popular down that area than other areas?
Better conditions?
Well, I mean,
know.
you go down further down south, like deer are tiny, man. So people don't really want to deer hunt. I mean, it's true. The deer are little, man. They're like the size of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But ducks down there, I mean, the way they migrate south. When it gets cold, they go south, and I mean, it's definitely it's a bigger thing down there. There's more ducks down there. Flooded timber, flooded corn. Up here, Wisconsin, I mean, you can still have just as much luck down south as you can up here. I've killed many ducks.
So with the Wisconsin season, what do you think should change about it? Do you think what we have in place right now in the state of Wisconsin is fair?
Well, going into work with the DNR, I kind of have to agree with what they have set in place. Obviously, if I was
so like, and following on with Zack here, I mean, like what there's in place right now is way better than what it has been in the past 10 years. Even there used to be 12 p.m. opening day. That was 12 p.m. shooting time. Man, that sucked. And then they moved it to 9 p.m. Now it's 30 minutes after sunrise. And we got an early teal season. We got an early goose season. Early teal season's the first 7 days of September. Early goose is the first 15 days of September. So, I mean, you got 15 days of solid waterfowl hunting.
A lot of opportunity.
And there's a lot of opportunity. And goose hunting, I mean, it's cheap, man. Tags are super cheap. You go kill 5 geese for $3, man. I mean, you go out there and you get a group of buddies, you can go out and kill a bunch of geese.
Speaking of geese now, how big is a geese, Zack? How big is a goose, I should say?
Well, I mean, I guess my waterfowl experience, I probably haven't shot as big a ones as Jack, which he could probably take it over a little bit more here with him having a little bit more experience. But obviously there's gonna range a little bit in size here, but you're really looking for. I mean,
it's a big black and gray turkey, I guess. I don't know, man. I mean, they're huge, dude.
So considering, like we have an understanding of how big a turkey
like,
is. How big is a goose? How big is it?
You got like Canadian geese, and they're
how big are they?
I mean, they're probably, I don't know, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. It depends how old they
where
are.
you're hunting.
Depends the time of season where they're hunting. I mean, early season they're going to be a little.
But is that
smaller.
Is that what you find is the consistent size?
Yeah, about 15 pounds, man. I mean.
So how old are they when they reach that point in time?
I mean, and like it depends on where you're hunting. I mean, there's different areas. Wisconsin, where I've hunted, in southern Wisconsin. I mean, 15 pounds, they get.
Now, with a 15-pound goose, what is the typical age range you're going to counter such a magnificent bird?
With a 15-pound goose, you're looking at probably at least 5 years. I mean, that's an old goose. He or she's been around for a while. On average, you're usually going to see about 8 to 12 pounds. At about a year and a half, they're probably going to be at about 8 to 10. I mean, as the older they get, the bigger they get. I mean, they live longer, they eat more. I mean, obviously, the more they migrate, they get smarter.
So, question for you: so, how when a goose reaches 15 pounds, they're usually used at about 5 years old. For a female goose, how many eggs would they lay in that 5-year period?
I mean, with a female goose, it could be
on average. On
average, probably about 10 eggs. I mean, and
that's pretty impressive.
Well,
so what's the success rate?
Well, success rate. Well, I was just going to throw in that. I mean, if you drive down the highway, especially even around here, especially when they're having their babies and everything, you see they're walking around with 8 goslings. I mean, but obviously with natural predation and like roads and everything.
Unfortunately, I mean, they some die. And
so out of a nest of 10, so you're saying what, 75% or have a pretty good success rate?
For sure, yeah.
That's still really good. I mean, that's really good. Yeah. It really shows on our accountability what we do with our hunting season, because we don't overhunt. We have a very short period of time, and it allows us to have a balance because they can really add up really quickly. And balance is one of those things we need, and we don't want them to eat themselves out of house and home. Is essentially what we're looking at. Now, I know, Zach, you're really big into pheasants. Now, I love pheasants. I'm an Iowa boy myself. I've been hunting pheasants since the mid-'90s. Now, for those dating me, it's like, oh, this guy's young. Now, it doesn't matter how old you are. It's like how many miles you walk. Now, anybody out there that's hunting pheasants understands that one trip could be 4 or 5 miles round trip. Yeah, which is still fun because it's like a bad day of pheasant season is better than a day at work. So why don't you give us a little breakdown on the pheasant? Like, where'd it come from?
So, the what we all know is the main thing that we're going to hunt here in the United States is the ringneck pheasant, which came from China. And then with that, I mean, you're looking at, I know I don't do a lot with Wisconsin not having, obviously, the best pheasant hunting in the Midwest for sure. I head out a little west and do some hunting out there every year, a couple times a year. And, I mean, and then like kind of what Jay was talking about, like the average sizes and stuff. I mean, you're looking at each time you shoot a nice rooster out there, I mean, you're looking at like usually 2.5 to 3 pound bird, but you know, obviously there's the anomalies that one might end up being 3.5 pounds, hell, sometimes 4 pounds.
So how old is a bird at this weight?
A lot of times, from at least what I have been told by like wardens and having my dad and everything there with me hunting a lot, is a lot of times you see a 10 to 20 month like average lifespan. Sometimes obviously there'll be, you know, you'll get those 3-year birds that are in there, but pheasants aren't going to live as long as your geese, your turkeys and stuff, and a lot of that has to do also with weather conditions, and I know a lot of those more in the plains in some of those states out west of Wisconsin, you have different conditions which affect it, such as whether it was a wet or dry spring, and how the winter was, and how there's been a lot of loss of CRP land, especially out in a state of like South Dakota, for example. So CRP land, for listeners who don't know what that is, would be crop reduction program land, and that's mainly just like hunters kind of allowing people to, or allowing the public more so to have that managed for the pheasants and stuff like that. You know, like you're able to hunt that, the CRP land. But they're taking a lot of that back because the profit margins aren't as big, because the state would pay someone to have that CRP land, and we're losing a lot of that. So that kind of really affects the pheasant population. I know, like over the last 10 years ago when I was going out, I mean, you'd drive by and you'd see an uncountable number of pheasants in every big field. And I know they had a couple bad droughts and they had some really wet springs, which 4 years ago, it brought that population down across statewide by like 50-60%. And then it kind of started regaining over the last few years. And then last year they had another drop where you saw another loss of 50-60%.
Jesus. So
it's a something that if you're passionate about pheasant hunting and even hunting in the Dakotas and in Iowa and stuff, I mean, it's definitely something to look into and call whoever your elected official may be, and kind of make that a point that's a big issue, because I know going out there now, guys were able to just go out and get their limit every day hunting public land. Now, I mean, depending on where you're hunting at, you're not able to do that. You have to find the right connections, private land guys who have their standing crops, their corn that's still standing, and hunt there to really get your limit. And that's not what, obviously, any outdoorsman that hunts public lands, which I feel like is most of us, is, you know, what you want to see.
I got you. So I perfectly understand, because when I was growing up, the part of Iowa I lived in, it was very open. It was one of those models where it's brown, it's down. Now that had a role in our ecosystem for deer, but when it came down to pheasant season, coming up here pretty soon, because Iowa's pheasant season starts in October, runs till February. It's about $100 tag or so, plus or minus. Don't quote me on it because things change from time to time.
I think you're looking at like 120 now.
120. I gotcha. I see. Now, growing up, it's like I remember seeing some of my father's friends that would have information back in the early 90s, between like 88 and 95. They would pull 100 bird seasons. Yeah. Then right after 95, we saw a big change in the Midwest. They would start seeing a decrease. It wasn't much the first couple of years. Let's see, 88, 80, 70, 75. but then as of the last 10 years, if they hit a 30 bird season, that's an amazing year. So from what you told me, it sounds like the CRP land was a essential piece of the success of the bird.
And I don't mean to blow that way out of proportion, but it is a big part of where the pheasant numbers are coming from. And the more CRP land and the more just land in general, because that's really what it translates to is how much the average Joe is going to be able to go out and hunt and use. And the more land that we lose, the less likely and the less chances you're going to have at killing your limit, killing your birds, and it's not a positive really for anyone.
Now, as you guys are understanding this here, it's like we as hunters appreciate wildlife because we look at aspects such as biological situations where how to flourish a bird such as this, and we try our best. We do what we can, and by establishing science in the conservation aspect of the outdoors is how we succeed. And how we figure out the money aspect is what it seems to be a issue. Now, I don't mind paying extra.
No,
I mean
most hunters wouldn't.
Yeah, Robert Pittman Act in the early 1900s was established by hunters because we understood the importance of of the dynamic of the biology, because we want to see everything flourish. We want to make sure that it's with the changes in society, it provides us a challenge. But it's something, man. Yeah, exactly. So, what do you have to say about that?
I mean, conservation, man, right there.
Hunters are the biggest conservationists.
Hunters are the biggest conservationists, by all means. Every year that you go, you buy your bow hunting license or your gun deer or your small game, whatever. Every single bit of that money, man, is what's keeping your hunting seasons going every year. Your bag limits, it changes every year.
Creating better habitat.
Creating better habitat for the animals that you want to go out and hunt. Yet we go out and we want to harvest. We want to get that big buck.
So do you guys? Can you explain to me a little bit about habitat between the goose and the pheasant? Why don't you elaborate on wetlands, the waterfowl, Ducks Limited? I mean, I'm a member of Ducks Limited. I love the corporate, the whole mindset behind the whole idea about it. Yeah. Now, that's one thing I want to learn more about, but we'll discuss that later down the road. But it's very crucial on how our conservation over the wetlands provides this habitat. So, can you give us some insight about that?
Well, I mean, with wetlands in the nation, I mean, like they're. I remember in the recent past years, I mean, wetland conservation, it was decreasing. There wasn't enough wetlands for migratory birds to I guess make a home of. And in the past few years, it's increased. I mean, Wisconsin now has.
Do you have an estimate on that wetland? It doesn't have to be necessarily focused on Wisconsin, but overall between the nation, here and the Gulf.
I mean, here in the Gulf, I mean, like my personal inquiry on that, I guess, it decreased in the past few years. I mean, it would have decreased probably close to 50%, 60%, if I remember right. But I mean, with conservation efforts going towards it, I mean, as generations come, the more people that get out to hunting, the more that goes towards conservation, the more wetlands will improve, so that way migratory birds, that we keep the numbers at that mid-range to a high, a sustainable level where we can hunt, but yet we still keep a healthy habitat out there.
So what do you think about the pheasant habitat? Well, because I'm a part of Pheasant Forever.
Yeah,
recently, Cody Neer disclosed that we provided a very large amount of money towards Pheasants Forever because we're all big passionate hunters about it.
So kind of just like I said, I'm not gonna be able to speak a whole lot on what I know about like the waterland habitat in Wisconsin, but I know for sure out near South Dakota, North Dakota, etc., you saw in these last 5 years kind of what Jack said. I mean, you're looking at losing a lot of that CRP land, like I was talking about earlier, and you're looking at a loss of 30-40% of land.
So
I got maps I could show you that we have from 2000, 2004, etc., all the way up till now. And
so, is there a electronic format to see this information?
Yeah. Well, you can go on to the South Dakota, really just like Fish and Game.
So what you're saying is any DNR website or...
For sure.
So they'll show their public lands too that you'll really be able, and then they'll have their CRP land kind of labeled in a different way. And you've got kind of, if you get those maps, you obtain those maps to be able to see what has happened over the last however many years. You'll see the slow decline and all that stuff. Well, I shouldn't even say slow, but almost a rapid decline.
I gotcha.
And you can look at the numbers. I mean, like pheasants, waterfowl. Like you look back 20 years plus. I mean, the numbers were way higher than what they are than they have been in the past 10 years. I mean, back 20 years ago, duck hunting, goose hunting, pheasant hunting, deer hunting. I mean, it was awesome. But then as the years came, I mean, like it's gone down, and now we're at a steady mid-level, I guess, of where, you know, at a good number of where we should be. It can always get better, obviously. But I mean, as the years have gone on, I mean, it's been a decrease, and now it's been a struggle. But I mean,
it's almost ironic in a sense.
Yeah.
That the more we seem to, at least from what I've seen, is more people getting serious about the conservation of our hunting lands and our fishing lands and everything.
How
We've
so?
almost seen,
do you have any information we can quote
I've
or resource?
Seen, I guess just seeing and hearing, like I said, I don't want to give off exact statistics and stuff because I don't have them here in front of me.
Do you have a good resource?
Yeah, so like you listen to such as the Meat Eater podcast. All those guys are very credible people, and they'll talk about how you kind of seen a shift go from maybe not as large in numbers, but a more serious focus on our lands and such. And what's ironic to me is that, of course, we're getting more serious about everything, but it seems like in a lot of the areas that I hunt, the public land, like acreage that you can hunt, has gone down, and even just going out and seeing maybe as many trucks as there were out there, with deer in the back of their truck, and you just don't see it as much, and it's kind of interesting. Like I said, it's just, to me, ironic that it seems like although we're getting more focused on conserving our lands for this type of use, it seems like there's less of it.
I gotcha. Perfectly understandable. So you were explaining to me earlier before we started the podcast, you're talking about what you're bringing to the table with Axe Outdoors.
Okay.
Sure.
So as far as what I would be bringing,
yeah, what's your guys' outcome? What do you see rolling out in the next 12 months to keep things focused?
Well, obviously we, as far as what we're filming and such, or just what we
overall, because it'd be nice to see where you guys are going. Because Bucks of America, we have a beautiful established catalog that we're working with all states. Because we want to show people identity. That's the whole thing about it. Because with the whole motivation behind Bucks of America is we want to show people's passions, whether it be waterfowl, fishing, hunt, big game. We want to show everything off. So now, with that in mind, what do you guys want to do?
I guess what I know that we each kind of have different things that we want to do, and that's what makes us great, is that we're able to kind of bring two people's ideas and concepts and everything and mesh them into one Axe Outdoors. So my big thing is I've been lucky enough to be able to go to Texas and hunt. South Dakota. I've done a lot, just as much hunting in South Dakota as I have here in Wisconsin. I've done hunting in Minnesota, Wyoming. I mean, I've done fishing in Florida, California. I've been able to do all this stuff, and I guess what I want to be able to do is really create awareness of our.
Your values is what you're saying?
Yeah, our values.
What are some of your values? Because I'm still learning myself, folks.
Yeah, so I guess some of my values personally would be, when it comes to hunting and fishing, is being respectful of the land that you're stepping foot on. I mean, obviously you can look up Fred Bear quotes for days, and I know I have it just kind of goes. I want to be able to have that for everyone, and kind of relate it to people that maybe aren't into hunting yet, but can kind of get an idea that we're doing a really good thing here. What
about you, Jack. What about yourself? What more information you can give us?
I mean, like, it's passion that I've held with myself my whole entire life. I grew up around it.
So, Jack, when you're regarding to this upcoming season with whitetail, what will be some of your tactics you're going to be using? What's some of the equipment you're going to use? Why don't we start with equipment? Because we're all bow hunters here, and we can kind of go through a breakdown of what we use.
So I've used the hunter safety system harness for ever since I started hunting. I'm a full believer. I'm terrified of heights, man. So like, I'm terrified of heights. So when I climb up in the tree, a harness I think is key. I mean, I've used it. It's never got in the way of me making a shot on a deer. I love it. I think if you're gonna bow hunt for sure, I hunt out of trees, out of hang stands. So I mean, sometimes it can be real sketchy, man. But like the safety harness is definitely a big thing.
So with your hang stands, how high do you go?
I mean, I usually go about 15, 20 feet. You can even go higher, man. Depends how many climbing sticks you get. You can get a set of 20-foot climbing sticks, like 4 sticks, whatever. Some people only like to go 10 feet. I think the higher you get, the more invisible, in quotations, you're going to be from the deer. You don't want to necessarily be on eye level. It depends if you're hunting off of in a valley, off of like a hill or whatever. You definitely want to be a little higher if possible. Camouflage is definitely a big thing. I use Real Tree Extra. That's my camo pattern.
I got you.
It really doesn't matter what the brand, I guess.
What do you use? What pattern do you use?
Well, as of late, a lot of the like Badlands and the Crp type of almost seems like an alternative camouflage, if you would like to call it that. It just not something that's so traditional, such as Real Tree or what you're gonna find, everywhere. So I guess kind of in that same sense, I use a lot of that type of camo, and as far as like the scent blocker and stuff, dead downwind has been mainly what I've used over the years.
For scent control?
Yeah, for scent control.
Very cool.
Just using that kind of stuff just has got me by and has come up with some results in the past. So why, they always say, don't fix if it's not broke. So. Oh
yeah, by all means. Like where I hunt a lot of maples, so I'll use a max 1 because of how the leaves will bleach. And I've found indifferent success with it because it's like it works for me. It camouflages me. It all depends on the type of season where I'm setting that to. Because I mix it up. I do ladder stands, or if I do a stand itself, I'll do a 2-man stand because even as a bow hunter, having that extra room as a 2-man, it's worth it. It's so worth it.
Basing off of like what camo you use is like what you said earlier. I mean, like look at your surroundings, man. The time of the year, like early season, early September, man. Opening day, it's still there's a lot of green. I mean. You can, you're going to want to base off of your surroundings. If you're using a hard timber camo when it's green all around you, I mean, you might stick out a little bit. I mean, scent control is definitely a big thing, but the more, the more you base yourself around your surroundings, when you camouflage yourself, the better off you're going to be for sure,
And what you were talking about earlier with have someone take a picture of you up in your stand, if it doesn't look right to you, is it going to look right to a deer?
Right.
You gotta take you was talking about earlier. Just have someone or set up your camera, get a picture of yourself up there, and if it looks good, it probably is good.
Yeah,
but if you stand out like a green hat with an orange bill, I mean, you're probably
Your first priority, man, should be camouflaging. I mean,
do you guys have any knowledge of what colors you should avoid?
I mean. With my experience,
What colors, guys?
Well, besides the obvious, I mean, obviously you want to be using blues and
with my experience from hunting and even within the military, man. Like I served in the Guard for 3 years in the Army as an infantryman, and I mean, like one of your jobs is.
Oh, thank you for your service, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And I mean, when you're out there, I mean, like as a soldier out in the woods, I mean, you're doing training exercises, whatever. I mean. Camouflaging is a huge thing, man. Like, you don't want the enemy to see yourself. I'm not saying the deer's your enemy by all means, but whatever you're hunting, in essence, whether whatever the case, whatever it may be. I mean, you want to be unsought, and I mean your surroundings is key. I mean you have to try to match your surroundings as best you can.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, when it comes to deer hunting, once you match your surroundings with the camouflage, then you get into your scent control, because I mean, early season scent control is really, really key. Early season is once you get to that rut. Now, I mean, of course, those big bucks.
What's the golden rule of scent control? Play the wind.
Yeah,
play the wind
for sure, man.
Yeah.
You gotta play that wind, man. Cause
scent control only goes so far, man. I mean, like you could have an ozonics, a freaking, you could have scent killer gold, whatever. You could have the highest end crap, man. But if you aren't playing the wind right, it doesn't matter what you got.
By all means, kids, we're not discrediting anybody, because ozonics is a phenomenal product based out of Mason City, Iowa.
Yeah,
Go Mohawks. Those are from Mason City, Iowa. I know what I'm talking about. Now, all these products work. There's no doubt about its scent capture, scent control, scent blocker. You work what works for you, and because you're a predator, and you're an apex predator on top of that too.
Yes, we are humans are the apex predator. We are the top of the top. I mean, that's who we are.
Amen to that. But when you're going into their realm, remember, you're only there for a short period of time. They're there every single day. So you, as an experienced hunter, now don't feel intimidated, guys, because the beautiful thing about the hunting community is that we'll teach you. We'll teach anybody. One nice thing about hunting, there's no prejudice. It doesn't matter who you are. If you want to hunt, people will help you. Yeah, that's the greatest thing about it. Don't get me wrong. There are going to be some. What's a polite word of saying? Some naysayers in a sense, but you disregard them like a grain of salt, because everybody's willing to help anybody. Because I know when some of the new upcoming hunters, they're going to ask for people for help, and you know what? They're going to get a very big warm welcome, because that's what separates us. Because we don't need to be mean, we don't need to be down degrading them. Because with CWD, EWD, it's all deer management. All same. It's deer management, making sure our population stays healthy, disease free. That's our goal.
You know, do your research, man.
These are not something. Not only their food, but we almost look at them as a valuable part of our lives, because these guys provide a deer, a bear, an elk, whatever it may be. They provide an aspect to your life that makes you better than who you are. You never think of it, because you never know what's going on in your life until somebody tells you, you're doing this great, you're doing this great. That humility can blind us all, but we're all part of.
I'd like to throw a quote out there quick.
Oh, yeah? You got a quote for us? Look at this guy. He's smart.
Fred Bear is... If you're an outdoorsman, you should know who Fred Bear is. If you don't, do a little research into him, look him up. But one of my favorite quotes from him would go... Go afield with a good attitude, with respect for the forests and fields in which you walk, and immerse yourself in the outdoor experience. It will cleanse your soul and make you a better person. I know personally that has really stuck with me throughout everything I've done, because, you grow up and you do dumb things here and there. You maybe get involved in the wrong crowd. You might, at the end of the day, when you get outdoors and you do what we are so blessed to be able to do.
That's true. It is a blessing.
It makes you a better person, more appreciative of everything that goes on around you. It really does. It's just, so I know, like I said, I was just adding that quote on to kind of what we were talking about, but it really does.
It's very well put. It does show us what we have to offer, because I like hunting season. I do. It's even if I sit from sun up to sundown and don't see a thing, it's so appreciative, because it's like, I don't have any private land. I don't have any, and I have public land on, but either land, doesn't matter if you're public or private, it's still land. It's God's gift to us. Yes. And it's
a luxury. It's not something. It's not a necessity. It's a luxury.
I don't know. I think I think it's more of a necessity, because it's like because somebody owns it.
It's a necessity. I think more so when it comes to, I guess, if you need to get away. And not only that, but the conservation aspect too, for sure. It's a necessity to really appreciate what is around you.
It's a necessity to us, because we've done what we've done, and
For
we have
sure.
our personal experiences. But maybe I get where you were coming from with.
I mean,
maybe
nowadays,
as far as it being a necessity to someone who doesn't hunt. I mean, you don't see it yet, but if you get involved, even you don't have to hunt.
Well, just
get out there and
just
be on your
being
public
able to
lands.
work on
You're
land. Land alone, it's like this whole concept of having ownership is a foreign idea. It's
Mhm.
only been recent for the last 200 some odd years. I think we need to have that opportunity for everybody to walk. And you don't have to hunt it, you don't have to hike it, you don't have to snowmobile it. That land is a precious gift to us from God.
Yeah.
No matter which way you look at it, only humans put a value on something. And I look at it as like it's something that was provided for us that can be easily taken away. Those who live in a concrete jungle will never experience
It's unfortunate.
the silence of the forest or the lake or the prairie. It doesn't matter if you're in the mountains or not. It's solid. The silence is great. Silence is a way to is not necessarily to cleanse the soul, but it's just to expand it, open it up, because we're very short. We're only on this earth for 100 years if we're lucky.
Max, yeah.
If we're lucky.
What's that Ricky Bobby quote? It's like, with advanced and modern science, my high level of income, it's not crazy to think that I may live to be 245, maybe 300. You know?
That is insane. That is a very interesting statement, but that's something we're not going to tackle in this conversation. But boy, living for 200 some odd years, do you know how awesome that would be? Because then it's like,
I don't know about that.
I don't know. It's like this world offers so
More
much.
hunting.
I've seen small people, and I don't know what I want to.
Well, if you're living to 245 years
if I'm
old,
200 years old and I'm looking like I'm 25, I mean, then hell yeah.
hey,
man.
if I can look like I'm 25 to like age 100 and 175, I'll be happy.
Yeah,
I'll be happy.
yeah.
Well, if I'm looking like 40 and I'm 200 years old, we'll be all right, I guess. But, I don't know about 200 years old looking like 100. Man, that sounds painful.
No kidding. It's like it's one of those things. If you're living to like 200 plus 50 years, it's like that last 75 years has got to be 25 and older. Because it's like, just picture that's like, hi, I'm 200 years old, but I don't look 200 years old.
Right?
Or I only look 25 years old. It's like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Because the world offers so much. Because it's like, in a 100-year lifespan that I have right now, I'll never get to see everything because of my fiscal responsibilities passed down by governing powers.
Yeah. I know, that's a big thing. I had the person I was going out west recently this last week with, I was talking about how there's just too much to see even in our own country.
Oh God, yes.
Like
amen to that.
Like, everyone is traveling to these other countries and seeing it, and that's so awesome. Like I'm jealous, but there is too much in my, if you want to consider the country my backyard, that I probably will never get to see. There's too much to explore. There's too much to do, and really, I mean, I've got too much to do here before I really start thinking about making this a worldwide thing.
Oh, no kidding. We have so much opportunity. We have 48 states that we could drive to, and 2 other ones we have to fly to, and it's like this world is such a magnificent place. I mean, we really live in a diamond in the
rough. Yeah.
In the rough. We consider the universe. It's massive. It's huge. To see what we have here is one out of 1,000 Earths or planets.
I mean, think about the hunting and fishing we have here in North America. I mean, it's second to none. I mean, you cannot beat it. There's reasons why people spend their whole life hunting all this big game across the continuous 48. And that's because they don't have enough time in their life to get out and do these other things. So there's too much to see here. Like
have you ever seen an Irish elk?
I've seen
those are skeletons.
Yeah.
So this megafauna. Now, give you guys a perspective. They roamed the earth 11,800 years ago or so, right during the Younger Dryas period, where we had this massive megafauna, these saber-toothed tigers, and
short-faced bears,
exactly.
Well,
Jesus, do you think about mounting one of those on your wall? A 12-foot
Need a whole
bear?
room for it, yeah.
Oh Jesus! I think that's what kept us over in the from jumping to the United States because the Bering Strait is like these big, massive animals. I mean, just think if you're trying to cross in an area that's strictly cold and you're dealing with a bear. Polar bears themselves only hunt meat. They're an active predator. They see you, yeah, it's a cat and mouse game until you get out of there.
And polar bears, from like a National Geographic TV episode that I was watching, are the only predators that still view humans every single time as prey. They're the only predator that every time they see one of us, they still view us as prey.
Oh yeah.
So
You're talking. It's barren. It is barren. It's just as bad as the desert, but it's like in the desert they're looking for water. Up there they're looking for food because it's cold. Or it's cold. I tell you what. Now
cold in Wisconsin.
Oh, Jesus, those guys over there. It's just like those bears are just the epitome of an apex predator.
Yeah.
Now, for here being in the Midwest or wherever where it's cold, it doesn't matter to be in the Midwest. I've found that I like a company called WSI. They're based out of Maple Grove, Minnesota, and now they've developed a technology that just keeps you warm.
Mm-hmm.
Like my girlfriend, she bought me an outfit from head to toe. I mean, this outfit's $300, but I'll tell you what: if NFL players and skiers and NHL players wear this stuff, it's got to be something good. You know what I mean? And the unique thing about this company, they don't go out for sponsors. It's all word of mouth because the product is so good.
Exactly.
It's not cheap. By all means, it is not cheap, but it's something for those who want to research at WSI. They will find a game changer in the cold weather areas. What do you guys wear for cold weather?
Man, I got a herder's get up that I bought 3-4 years ago, and still ask me, man.
What is a herder's outfit? Because I've never. Is it a name brand or is it just a style?
I mean, Herders is the brand, but I mean, it's Real Tree Extra. I mean, like I said, that's a camo I wear. I swear by it. I think it's one of the best patterns out there. But
break down the style because I don't know this name brand.
Herders. You find it in Cabela's. It's affordable, man.
It's an actual name brand.
It's a name
I've
brand.
never heard of
Herders
it.
is a name brand.
I pay attention, but then again, I found one brand to stick to it.
In the past, you had Herders, and then Cabela's came along. Herders was one of the first, I guess, outdoors stores that were around, and then Cabela's came around. Cabela's came around, obviously, 1961. Before that, you had Herders, and it was just a small little owned company, which then branched off and grew larger, and then Cabela's came.
So that was pretty much their main competition.
Yeah.
Well, Herders kind of, I guess, sprouted Cabela's, to be honest. Honestly, I mean, really.
Yeah, Cabela's
because Cabela's sells Herders brand, but I bought it was Herders bibs and a Herders coat, man, and that's what I use. It's affordable, it's cheap. I mean,
it's good. It's good quality.
It's good. It's quality. It's for the price, you really can't beat it. I mean, you can go.
What about you? What do we use?
You want me
use
to be
that?
honest here?
Yeah, be straight up.
All right.
Yeah,
so
don't BS us now.
Well, so I grew up probably 10 minutes away from a military surplus store. And what I have learned is that you can find, if you're looking for the warmest possible clothes, which I know, especially here in Wisconsin, where my 2-year school is in Minnesota up north, you wanted to be warm. I mean, if you want to sit in your stand all day, except for when the Packers are playing, go Pack. You got down to the military surplus store, and they came in with all these. You'd have your obviously like your pants, but then inside that you could buy the liners. And I've never found anything warmer than the liners that they have. I mean, it's just all been like Jack was talking, affordable, good quality stuff that I still have to this day. And honestly, when gun season comes around here this year and we're waking up and it's hopefully it's in the 20s, but it might be some of those mornings where you get those in the negatives. You can sit out there all day and be warm because it's really concealing all that body heat that you have and keeping it trapped in, keeping you warm when you're up in your stand. And I know I found a lot of good stuff there. Obviously, going to the big box retailers, you can find the boots that are 2,000 grain boots that'll keep your feet warm and everything. But I'm just you can find that stuff a lot of places, and we don't hunt any mountains or anything here where weight becomes an issue. But for right now, I mean, this is definitely what I found to work.
Hey, we're in the driftless country here. You can get up in some of those areas where you're climbing 200-300 vertical feet, which may not mean enough from Montana, Idaho, Oregon. But here, it's like you still could climb 500-600 feet if you're in a situation where that's where the big boys are at, the mature ones. Because as a hunter, we don't go after the younger ones because we want to sustain a stable economy or dichotomy of the whole outdoor arena.
Aspect,
there you go. That's a good point. That's a good way to put it.
Keeping the ecology of all living things in their environment and their, as sustainable as possible.
Yeah, no kidding. Because we want to avoid CWD, EWD. There's a couple of issues we've been battling with them, and it is an ongoing process that we will continue to fight and always ask for help. Because our toolbox is limited, but our toolbox can always grow. Because we're not going to give up this fight. Now, when I started getting into bow hunting here several years ago, my inspiration was Joe Rogan. Just because he wanted to hunt for his food. Now, for me, I've been hunting since the mid-'90s. Now, for me, I wanted a different challenge. Now, I will not discredit gun hunting because gun hunting is not easy by any means because it is colder than normal. You have to endure a lot of different weather changes. And it's an art that it's not easy to master. Now, when I got into bow hunting, I wanted a new challenge for myself because I've shot my fair share of deer with shotguns. It's like, it's fun. It is, don't get me wrong, because like bow hunting is a lifestyle by all means. Now, do not discredit rifle hunting because still got to practice. You got to practice. Just because your season may be smaller doesn't mean you don't stop practicing. And that's the greatest part about it. It's like you can go out there and you can practice because anybody that does anything that they practice, they zone in only on that talent, whether it be basketball, baseball, football. You're going to zone in on this talent. And you're going to want to master this thing because it's like this can bring you food or it can bring you wealth depending on the physical aspect you're going after. Now, I like the outdoor sports because you get the enjoyment of being out in the wilderness. 2, you get to practice, which is just a fun thing to spend money on.
Lessons learned.
Yeah, he's no kidding. And then you get that one aspect of providing food. I love it. It's whenever I harvest a deer or harvest any animal, whether it be perch, whitetail, pheasant, I like to share. Sharing is literally caring because I can't donate. I can't give you money because it's just, well, we all know we live in America. Now, providing food is something more greater because it's like the person that you're giving that meal to may never get to experience this on the average, but they're humble by the whole experience because it's like, this is amazing. Somebody's willing to take me in at home, give me a meal, and then be on my merry way. Yeah. That's what makes us a very passionate group about it because we add so many aspects to what we do, and it creates that value.
Well, I know, especially like hunt. Do you mind if I kind of go off here a little bit off the
Yeah, go for it, man. You don't have to ask me for permission.
As far as what I was always brought up thinking is my dad's a spiritual guy, which if that's your thing or not, it's all person. But for me, growing up, it was always. I was always taught that I have to be okay with taking that animal's life because it's still a breathing, beating heart that you're taking. And for me personally, like I said, it's not for everyone. Doesn't think the same way, and never would I want everyone to think the same way as I do. But it really what I was always taught was, you have to be able to be appreciative of the animal you take. So I know when I went hog hunting in Texas, I mean even those what they consider to be nuisance animals down there, it was something that every life that we took down there I was appreciative of, that I made sure that we made full use of, that I got the meat on the table.
So bring up hog hunting. Now that's something I want to do. I have not done it yet, but it's one of those things where I've found where it's either you're paying $500 to $1,000 to hunt a nuisance animal.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense to me. by any means, but it sounds like they're not looking to solve the problem.
Well, and honestly, 10 years ago, they used to pay people to come down and take these hogs off their land, and now that everyone, and there's nothing wrong with it either, because if I was in the same position, I want to be making money off it too, but now they've learned they can all make money off it. So you're not going to find a place that you just get to go hunt hogs for free anymore. It's not like that. I know we found a really cheap place down south, and we went hunting, and it was...
Where'd you go? What was the outfitter?
So it was Newsom Ranch.
Newsom Ranch. So
Yep.
give us a little background on Newsom Ranch.
Newsom Ranch. So if you guys have some hog hunting to do, absolutely check them out. They're in between Dallas and San Antonio. It's kind of it's mashed in the middle there, and a little place called Foley, Texas. And these guys used to do it full time, and now they got jobs elsewhere. And we kind of went down there, and it was a really non-pressured hunt, but they were causing destruction. I mean, you go down, they'll talk about how these are nuisance animals, and you'll hear about it up here all the time. But until you go down there and you look in a field where all their cattle are and all their crops are and see it all dug up, like literally someone just tore the field up, you don't really understand the whole scope of things until you actually see that in person. And I know...
So what was your impression of the hog situation down there in Texas? Why are they a nuisance?
Well, they're a nuisance because they tear up a lot of the livestock and crop land.
So explain how I understand the crops, the livestock. Explain that.
So
to me.
livestock, I mean, obviously when you got a lot of cows and stuff, any divot or hole that a cow could end up stepping in and breaking its leg, or et cetera, you're losing profit there. And that's a big thing. Obviously, it's all about being able to make money in today's day and time. And down there, I mean, you saw this where they had all their cattle. There was holes, there was divots, there was the hogs are aggressive, whether you want to believe it or not. I mean, we got charged a couple times on the first day by 260-pound hogs. I mean,
now are they the same? Do they charge you like a sow does or a boar does for a bear or black bear?
No. So where we went, it was just a flat fee. It was because
the charge. Because you know how they'll fake charge with the bear?
Yeah. No, so when they charge you, they're coming at you.
Oh, there's no come at 10 yards and stop?
I mean, at least from what I experienced when I was down there was no false charging. Like how grizzlies sometimes will stop 15 yards out and turn the other way and then go back and suss out the situation and keep going from there. When I was down there and we were hog dogging, I mean, they came full bore at us. And we were, I mean, the guys that we were with, some jumped over a bank. I was climbing up a tree. I mean, like,
wow! Yeah, so it's just some scary stuff.
It was a 260-pound hog. They had some nice tusks on them, which we ended up getting later. But no, I mean, it was just like I was saying, you see a lot of destruction and everything, and you will, if you go down there and you hunt hog. By the way, that wild pork is better than any pork I've ever tasted in my entire life.
So describe it to me, because I have not had a solid description besides Steve Rinal's Meat Eater podcast show.
It's obviously, I mean, as a wild
sweeter,
game
or is it sweet? Is it saltier?
It can be a little sweet depending on the cut. So a lot of the stuff we ended up making like breakfast sausage out of and stuff like that. But when we actually got like a couple of the prime cuts, my dad's he loves cooking. So he wanted to make sure that he got to cook some of it, and the stuff that he came out with was so good. It was a little sweeter, a little more. I mean, it's gamier. I mean, that's if you don't like super.
It's what we hunt is we want a distinct flavor.
Yeah, exactly. So you're obviously not going to be eating some farm raised pork. It's going to be wild. But in my thing, I've never been a super big fan of like pork chops. I mean, I've never been a super big fan of pork. That's bacon, and we're talking about different story.
Everybody loves bacon. Even vegans when they're drunk, they like it.
Yeah. So no, but it was a little from my palate. It was a little bit more sweet. It was a little bit more gamey. But my God, I mean, if you get the opportunity to harvest some hogs anywhere, wild hogs, do it. And make sure you're getting that meat from it, because keep it cold, make sure you get it field dressed right away, everything, because that's something that a lot of the glands that they have, especially when you start talking those 260, 250-pound hogs that we're getting that first day, a lot of the glands have kind of overtaken the taste that you'll get out of the meat.
What do you mean by glands? Explain that.
So they have different hormone glands and stuff that'll really taint the meat. I mean, I don't want to get too scientific into it, but
you don't know enough about it to make you sound like an ass.
No,
I got
you. But from what I understood is that I tried some of that. We got a 260 pound to 250 pounder the first day, and we field dressed everything, processed the 260 pounder. It definitely was not nearly as good tasting as some of the 80 pound hogs that we got.
No kidding.
Not even close.
Even despite how big it is,
it wasn't even close.
So why does it? So at over 200 pounds, why does it? So you explained to me that the glands play an issue with it.
Yeah.
So why does the weight? Is it weight or is it age?
The age and how mature they are. So like obviously, one of the boars that we got was the 260 pound boar that we got.
So
and
what made? How old was he? Or how old was it?
They estimated. I mean, it could have been anywhere from. They didn't want to give me an exact time too because I don't think they were super sure either.
It never is when you give an estimation.
Yeah. So they said it could have been anywhere from 6 years old to 8.
Oh, really?
Somewhere in there.
So
5 to 8, 6 to 8, somewhere in there. So.
I got you. You're splitting hairs away between the years. Now, why does an 80 pound? How young is an 80 pound boar?
It's a little bit more tender meat too. I mean, or how old are they? You're looking. I mean, a lot of those yearling hogs are going to be. What I at least learned when I was down there is that the younger it is, the better tasting it will be. So if you're looking at some of those 40 pound,
kind of like whitetail.
I mean, yeah, almost like piglets at 40 pounds. I mean, I'm not saying not like little, yeah.
The boars reproduce at 6 months, so they can have 3 litters a year.
3 litters a year, 2 litters a year.
Especially when they're looking at 8 to 12 piglets per litter. That's insane.
No, yeah. So I mean, down there it was just I don't know, just being able to taste the difference in between the two. It was actually made me appreciate that I was able to take a little bit younger of a hog, but have that better taste. And I know that when I go back down there again, it'll be fun to kind of eliminate some of the nuisance 200 and whatever pound hogs. But at the end of the day, I'm probably looking for those 100 pound and under hogs for eating.
When it comes down to these massive animals, and I'm reminding folks, this is wild raised. It is a blessing to be that long, to live that long. And now remember, guys, at 6 months of age, a sow can have a litter, and they have litters 3 times a year. So don't feel bad if you absolutely have one. So with the amount of wild game is out there, what kind of programs can you donate the meat to? Let's say you go out there and hunt, but you don't want the meat.
Well, depending on where you're at, I mean, it's just got to be, you look up your local, I know a lot of, like, the game wardens in certain locations will definitely handle, if you call in, you're just talking about donating the meat.
Yeah, just donate the meat,
You call in the wardens, I mean, they will point you into the right direction. There's a lot of, like, local kitchens and stuff that will gladly take that stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that was a big part of our other 250 pounder that we did not end up keeping for meat. They donated it. Now, whether they enjoyed the meal or not, I can't talk about.
I don't know. As anybody that knows how to cook, you can take any piece of meat, like take a flank steak from cattle. It's not the most premier cut, but you put the right spices with it, it's a good cut of meat.
Absolutely.
And so don't ever discredit somebody's taste on the meat, because every cook's different. Yeah. And it takes somebody's experience to really bring out the flavors. It takes a lot. It's not an easy process, because becoming a chef takes, I swear, like 20,000, 30,000 hours. Now, mind you, this could take you 30 years to achieve a master
going
chef
into
level.
Donating, for sure.
Yeah?
Such as, like hogs, but not only hogs, but pork and venison. Donating meat, like that kind of ropes into, I guess, a conservation aspect. You know, as hunters, we go out and, like, we may fill our freezers, but yet we might go out, we might get like a farmland harvest tag or
some
whatever.
Seasons you get 2 or 3 deer.
2 or 3 deer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you fill your freezer with a deer or two. You know, donate the meat. It will to a good
benefit
cause.
a family. It'll benefit somebody.
Maybe there's a family during that Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever the case may be. Just at any time. Then you're doing a great thing. You're feeding a family or multiple families or whatever the case may be. You know, I mean, as hunters, it's not all about going and getting that trophy. I mean, you can also do something great with that. I mean, you can impact another person's life, and they may not be a hunter at all. They're just a person in hardship.
They may not know you by name, but they're appreciative.
So there you have it, folks. When it comes down to notion me that when it comes down to hunting, there's no evil aspect of it because you can something will come good of the process.
There's something. Yeah.
Now,
as long as you're ethical, you're an ethical hunter. I mean, you are appreciative of what you of the harvest. I mean,
I think most of us all are. I mean, honestly, most
are.
Yeah. We all have bad apples.
Yeah. I can tell you, me and Zack here, man, we're more than appreciative of just having the opportunity to go out and do this every year. I mean, it's a great thing. It's
I agree.
Awesome. It's fun. It's a great way to, you know, I mean, get away from everything, but also to, I mean, you can give back to people. You really can. You can give back.
That's so true. Very true. Now, we talked a lot about whitetail. Now, one of our here in Wisconsin, a pastime is bear hunting.
Yeah.
Why don't we get a little bit of that? Because myself, I am virgin to that territory. Who has the right? Who can explain to us more about bear hunting here?
I mean, well, yeah, I haven't done any. I don't think any of us.
So
here
you got some research behind it. So
yeah. So
what did you use as a research material to help yourself?
I mean, Google is a great tool.
Google, all right.
Google is
so
a great tool, man.
There we go.
No, I mean, but besides having that, I mean, I went to school with a couple kids that were into that bear hunting, which obviously from where we are now, you get a little bit more up north to where you want to really be getting into the bears.
I have a bear skull that I found in Myrick Park here in La Crosse, Wisconsin. It's literally sitting feet away from us. It's a 2.5-year-old boar.
And we've got, I mean, like people that are
There's
less than a mile
from
less than a mile from me have had continuous bear sightings. But it's not a. It's kind of an anomaly around where we are right now.
Black bears are so hard to see because I mean you can have black bears on your property for decades and not even know they're there because they're more afraid of you than you are of them.
Your little cat or dog goes missing.
That is true. That is very true.
I mean, between me and Zack, we've never bear hunted. I've never bear hunted. As far as you haven't bear hunted, right, Zack? I mean, you know, it's just
so. When you get into the mindset of bear hunting, give me a breakdown of what attracts somebody to bear hunting.
I know, or you can
the rush, man. I mean, it's like going out in the rut trying to find a big buck. I mean, imagine sitting in a stand, man. You got a big slop pail of goodies, of sweets, and I mean a big fat black bear locks up.
So explain baiting for those who don't know what baiting is for black bear.
From my knowledge of what I've researched about black bear hunting is, I mean, sweets, man, like cake.
Yeah.
People will take cake, man.
So why do you bait for bear?
Well, and it depends on it comes down to even the county. I mean, not everything's gonna be the same in every county.
But it's kind of like also like you based off, man. I mean, like they're more afraid of us than we are afraid of them. Really, I mean, you know, if you just go out and sit in a stand like you would a deer, your likelihood of seeing a bear is probably very low. But I mean,
when you throw up that, it's an attract. Like we've all seen Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh loves honey.
Mm-hmm.
Bears love that sweet stuff.
Yeah,
and from what I've learned from my friends and stuff that do this type of hunting, which I would love to be able to tap into, it just hasn't financially made sense yet. It's so really
financially makes sense. Why does it have to be? Explain that.
Why does something have to financially make sense?
Well, it doesn't have to make sense, but why? What do you find expensive about the whole process?
Well, okay, so already in the fall, archery hunting, you're doing your waterfall hunting, then you got gun deer season to look up to.
Is a lottery then for resident or non-resident?
Yeah, you have to apply. I mean, you're not going to really be able to get an over-the-counter tag, and depending on what state you're in, of course.
It's a huge investment to go try to hunt bears. I mean, don't get me wrong. For the future Axe Outdoors, the future hopefully will hold a black bear hunt. That is a goal. I mean, that is a goal that we would most definitely like to do. I mean, but I mean, when it comes, just like what Zack said, like archery hunting, we're deer hunting all through the fall. We're in a waterfowl hunt, pheasant hunt. I mean, archery hunting is going to take definitely a big grasp. I mean, you invest so much into just, I mean, one animal as it is. I mean, black bear, you're investing in just trying to even see one, man. You know,
until you're to the point where you're getting paid to go hunt. I mean, right now it just kind of seems like something that is another thing on the plate that you have to be. I mean, just with any sort of hunting, you have to be prepared to do. You have to know your stuff. I mean, if you go out and you're not experiencing it, and you're not. I mean, is your chance of having good luck super great? No, and that's the same thing with bear hunting. I mean, you gotta know. You gotta research the land. You gotta know how they work, and that's just the thing is for a lot of people. You know, if you're investing so much time in other things,
it's a game.
So now, to change gears here, now I am a hunter that doesn't have opportunity to hunt black bear. Let's say I'm from Texas. How does a non-resident make something happen in Wisconsin?
So really, just putting in your application every year. I mean, because the big thing with that is, obviously it doesn't even have to be Wisconsin, but Wisconsin has some great black bear hunting up north, and you got to put in your application, just like even residents do. Put in your application, build up your preference points, and eventually, do your research. Eventually, you will be able to come up with a tag for that, or and that it's the same with everything. You want to go moose hunting up in Maine or wherever. I mean, you got to put in your preference. You got to put in your applications, gain your preference points. It's almost like seniority. I mean, obviously we're all super familiar with seniority.
But I mean, besides that, like, you got to find the people around that know what they're doing. I mean, as a person, I mean, if you've done it maybe once in your time, whatever. But like, if you've never even done it, which a lot of people probably haven't, like, you got to find somebody that knows what they're doing. And when you ask questions, but I mean, if it's something that interests you, I mean, you want to invest into it, find the right people that know what they're doing. I mean, then otherwise, if you just go on it, I mean, blind, man, it's the same as deer hunting. Whether you're from Wisconsin, you know how to bow hunt in Wisconsin or whatever, like, you go to a different state and you're gonna bow hunt, whitetails in Illinois. I mean, you don't know, man. I mean, you gotta. It's research. It's a scouting. You put the time in, man.
Yeah, I mean, like he said, I mean, just about with everything. And at the end of the day, really what it's about, especially with the state that we're in as hunters, and if you want to do a lot of the out of state hunting like I've done, you have to put in your applications. You have to build your preference points. Like I keep saying, it's like seniority. I mean, remember when you're seniors in high school or college or whatever on a team, you had seniority. It's almost in the same set.
Sooner you get it in, man, the better off you'll be, I guess.
I gotcha. So now, if I'm going to start hunting, what resources should I look at? What do you guys have any point of references where I can go to, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, online? Do you have any website where I can just research on
just bear or hunting?
Bear.
In general?
No,
okay,
just bear.
Bear.
Everybody can research hunting, but I'm talking about bear.
Look, I mean, right away. Look up an outfitter, man. Look up an outfitter. I mean, there's every state for if you're gonna Wisconsin bear hunting. Look for an outfitter in Wisconsin that they're gonna or whatever. Look up a person they know what they're doing, and then after that, I mean,
pick their brain.
Yeah,
I mean,
pick their brain.
Pick
Ask
people's
questions.
brains who know what they're doing and that they've been in that situation before. Because
what about public land hunting for
public
bear?
land? So public land hunting, you can obviously. I mean, we've got public lands. We got public lands a lot of places.
No, but how would you approach a public land bear hunt?
So a public land bear hunt.
Now, how would you approach it? I'm asking how you guys not research. How would you guys approach it?
Me personally, man. Like if I was break
it down for me. If I'm in your brain here,
I'm walking into I want a bear hunt but I'm gonna do a public land. Like I mean, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do my research. I'm gonna look up forums, man. Like how people have bear hunted.
Forums are great.
Forums are, man.
Do you guys have any good reference points?
Straight up, I especially bow hunting myself. bow hunter die forums, man. Bowhunting.com. Their forums I've read, and it's not just the guys who run bow hunter die. It's people from around the whole entire Midwest, from the country, man.
So it's bowhunterdie.com is what you're talking about?
It's bowhunting.com.
Oh, bowhunting.com. I got you. And they have a genre of...
They have a YouTube series. It's called Bow Hunt or Die, but their website, bowhunting.com. I mean, it's not just whitetail hunting, but it's black bear, it's antelope, it's elk, it's turkey, it's...
Oh, so it's a very good point of reference for all aspects.
You ask questions. How will I go about bear hunting on public land, say in Wisconsin, whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and your questions they will be answered, you know. And you look around, you call, you ask around. How should I go about doing this, you know?
Monster Muleys too is a great forum where I've posted a lot on there, and just the vast knowledge that everyone holds, because you're getting people from all different walks of life around the country, and even the world in some cases, that are going to be able to provide you with information. I mean, it can be as simple as a Google search as the hunting forums, and you plug that into Google. But Monster Muleys was a great one for me. I learned a lot on there. I was posting about, hey, I'm looking at doing some hunts for like spring break, because I'm not a guy that likes to go out and show my dad bod out on the beach. I'd much rather be, doing some hunting. And,
very cool.
And
cool.
The big thing with that is they kind of led me into all these different areas and outfitters and stuff. Mm-hmm. And outfitters aren't for... I mean, I like doing that, but at the end of the day, I'd really like to be able to gain my own experiences. And so if outfitters and guides aren't for you, obviously, I mean, still going on these, you're going to be able to find a lot of information.
So what you're saying, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so...
Yeah, way more than one way to skin a cat.
Now, when you guys are filming Axe Outdoors, are you guys going to be in the same ground blind, or are you guys going to be focused on solo hunts?
It depends.
What's your guys' focus?
Our main focus right now, especially with just as an upcoming group as ourselves, me and Zack, the Axe, our focus right now is two people, one filming, one hunting.
Okay.
Whether it's me filming or Zack filming.
We'll flip a coin.
Fair enough.
Flip a coin, whatever, that's the main focus right now. Obviously, that's not always going to be ideal. Solo hunts and with filming, self-filming, it can be difficult.
Well, and the thing with solo hunts, you may be able to find other content and different words of explaining what you're really feeling, if you weren't with other people. And that's a big thing that I think that we need to experience, because I've been on solo hunts. I do a lot of solo hunting. I think that being by yourself and experiencing everything, and there's no one else around, it's just you in the wilderness and the wildlife and everything. I mean, my God, there's nothing more grounding.
I guess I've found a lot of success though too with two people. I mean, in the past, I would not necessarily. I mean, even with videotaping, but like two people. It helps most definitely with the Axe here. I mean, it's both of us. We're going to film one another. Another person there. You work as a team. You are going to definitely. You're going to see a greater outcome, I think.
I gotcha.
And it might be more than if you're just by yourself. You just see it. We're testing the water, man.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, when it comes down to whitetail hunting, whether you're hunting in the Midwest or wherever, or solo hunting in general, I should say, it's not easy. Definitely whether it be hunting for whitetail, whether for pheasant, goose hunting, solo hunting is
a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, man.
Oh yes, it's a lot of hard work. It's not an easy process, and as you can tell, now I solo hunt myself, and sometimes you just can't hunt with friends because life happens. We do. We all have taxes to pay,
and everybody isn't on the same schedule, man. Me and Zack aren't going to be always on the same schedule. That'd be ideal, but it's never. When a plan comes together, it's great. But a plan doesn't always come together. You can have a plan, but everything changes.
That is very true. So now, if somebody wants to reach out to either one of you, how do we do that? What's the best method of doing so?
I'd say the best way to do so is we have a couple different things going right now. Our Instagram page is just as simple as going on to Instagram and punching in AXE and then outdoors. That's really where we're going to be focusing a lot of time right now. We have our regular email where you can email any questions, inquiries, if you want tips, anything, and that's also going to just be AXEOUTDOORS@gmail.com. Outdoors.
Just give you guys a heads up, all this information will be written in our bio for this episode. So there's going to be some information where you can just copy and paste and go from there.
And please, seriously, feel free. I mean, tips, like if you
want to
come
hunting with us?
You want to come, you want to know more about us, you want to hunt with us, whatever, man. I mean, right now we're just trying to get our name out there. We're just trying to, we're just a couple of dudes. We just want to show you what we got. We're just having fun. If you just want to know more about us, feel free. My name's Jack, and
I'm Zack.
He's Zack. I mean, we got our accounts linked with Axe Outdoors on Instagram, so feel free to message us whenever.
Keep looking for our Facebook page, which is
we're always going to be we're going to be posting pictures.
We'll have a Twitter.
Yep.
All your social media stuff, which seems like the world is run by right now, you can find us there. And then, like I said, if that's not your thing, we have an email. And then, in the future, the YouTube page will be up. And then, of course, that's details that will be further in the future that we will get you as soon as possible, as soon as it happens. So, like we're saying here, it's a masterpiece in the progress, man. Yeah, and keep looking for our merchandise also. We'll have our some hats, t-shirts, and even some can koozies. So when you're out for your deer camp, you gotta have something to keep your coolers warm.
Yeah.
Keep your coolers cold.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in to another podcast of Bucks of America. Please go rate us on Google and iTunes. We greatly appreciate it. We'll post all the information we discussed today in our bio. If you have any further questions, make sure you feel free to email us. We'll talk to you later.